So tell us a little bit about your film without giving away any details, because I know your film is probably still traveling lots of film festivals.
Well, our short is about a fiance giving her significant other the best present ever for his birthday.
And that's it. Yeah. It's interesting because of that very simple plot structure, that's all we can really say. So there are certain things that, gets revealed really early on in the film that, tells the true nature of it. But for now, the best birthday gift ever from a fiance to a significant other is the best way to describe this film.
I will agree with that because I've seen the movie twice now. Well, I had to watch it with my wife. As soon as I watched it, I said, honey, you have to watch this. And she watches some of the films because she's our community outreach manager, so she watches some of the films. She doesn't watch all of them. There'd be way too many films for her to watch. So I let her watch the ones I say, oh, these are the top 20, 30 films. You need to watch these. So, but yes, I agree. I will not give away anything to this movie. People need to watch it from beginning to end. Go away. Yes, I want to know what was one of the most difficult things that you had to deal with on the set of making this film?
You want me to?
Nothing. It was all perfect. Everything worked according to plan. Okay, it was a dream.
Actually, I mean, for the most part, the actual shoot itself went relatively smooth. It was a 12-hour shoot, one single day, obviously a single location, and then all the crew and the cast members were on board and passionate and dedicated. I think, if anything, our journey that was actually a learning process for us was the post-production aspect of it. Because Josephine actually was the spearhead in terms of like having more diversity behind the camera, in terms of giving more opportunities to, especially to female BIPOC artists. And so, because when we first had our thing, anytime there's an indie shoot, usually it's like a director has his friends, and more often than not, it's usually Caucasian men, which there's nothing wrong with, but it's like, in order to find the talents that you normally wouldn't get, you actually have to seek it. You have to find it. Yeah. And so even though the shoot itself went by really quickly, it was the post-production aspect that was the journey, but I think you can feel that and more.
Oh, yeah. I mean, in the beginning, we gave ourselves a hard deadline because I feel like a lot of problems, we usually get in this day and age is we say we want to do a lot of things, and then we never carry it through. So we were like, okay, if we really want to get this done, let's do this, and then we got it done, and we're like, okay, that was great and amazing. But now we should take our time, relax a little bit, and try to fulfill what we want, which was, including a lot of BIPOC artists that we normally wouldn't have worked with or personally know, because we would be like, hey, do you guys know any female BIPOC creators or anything like for composing music? And a lot of our friends would be like, oh, I have a list, but it's all like, cisgendered men. And we're like, oh, are there any females on there? Are they people of color? And then they're like, no, we don't know anyway. So Edward was literally just going on to like random Facebook groups to be like, hey, hi, random Asian guy here. We're just curious if anyone knows anyone for any, so it was definitely probably the challengingest part of the entire project, is to find people that we've never worked with to be interested enough with our low budget to help out with our project. But I feel like it all paid off in the end. And now we've also, like, Edward started this whole new list of, like, we've compiled a list of people that reached out even afterwards. And just so we know in the future who we could try going for, just to be like, hey, we really want to showcase you guys. Because obviously a lot of it is also, they don't have as maybe extensive of not a reel, but like credits
or opportunities.
Yeah, like, because they just haven't had the chance, because people keep just referring the ones that they know who've done a lot of stuff, which is also great because they're all very good. It's just we're like, we want to give the other people more chances, so we were just
So I think because for the next project we want to make, whether it's another horror film or whatever, now we have a list, and now we have people who know what we're about, and so they have been very instrumental in like, oh, so we had one who primarily hires like black talent behind the camera. So it's like, oh, if you want a composer, a sound designer, a grip person, like I got them all. So then that way, for our next project, I was like, oh, we can have like, I told Josephine, a 50% inclusion writer, like, 50% diverse. And she's like, how about 90% or 100%?
I didn't say 90. I said, why not 100?
Okay, 100%. I'm like, we have to give some love to white people. Like, they gotta. All right, fine. All right, so 100%. God. Yes, anyway. So, yeah, I was going for 50. She's going for 100. I'm like, all right.
Set new standards, man.
Yes, we could set new standards. All right. But yes.
That's fine. That's funny because I did an interview for my panel discussion, or my panel moderator, in regards to my feature, House of Secrets. We shot 5 years ago, and one of my main things is it's a movie about a group of females, and the one thing I wanted to do is to have a lot of female people behind the camera. So I had my makeup artist, my AD, my script supervisor. They were all females, all people I'd never worked with, because I thought that would help me bring the story I wanted to bring to the screen. So I agree with you 100% sometimes. Like, if you can, why not? I mean,
absolutely.
So. Yeah, so we had obviously with post-production, it was like, okay, we have the time now. Let's take the time to do this. And you can find the people you want if you just spend the time, which is why anytime you hear any sort of production, like for the big mainstream things, they're like, we couldn't find the actors, we couldn't find the. We're like, that's bullshit, because you could find it. You
have hundreds of millions.
Yeah, you have the money. We can do it, and we don't have that much money, and stupid excuses. But yes.
So I'm definitely passionate about it, but she was like, we gotta do this. We're gonna do this, and we're gonna take our sweet time with it. Although, ironically enough, it's funny that by the time we actually started submitting, none of us would have ever expected that the pandemic would hit. And we're like, oh, great. This is the best time to have a film festival in this weird Black Mirror virtual realm world. But
oh my God.
Hey, we're very grateful to be included in your festival and to be, to be awarded by your festival. So there is definitely a silver lining of like, and the fact that, for a lot of these, like, the likelihood that we will be able to constantly travel to Georgia or other countries, we don't know. But the fact that, we can do this and have this conversation is something that wouldn't have been possible if it wasn't for the pandemic.
Well, I would agree with you. That's one of the things I liked about the pandemic. Normally, when I do these interviews, it's usually the handful of the local filmmakers who show up, for their film. And this is giving me the opportunity to talk to all these people from Spain, from the UK, from California, people that normally wouldn't have been able to come down here, which is great. I mean, I'm enjoying the heck out of talking to all of you guys and ladies about your films, because I'm getting a different aspect of filmmaking. Like when I talked to the guy from Spain, he has a different modus on how he has been doing his films over there versus the two filmmakers I talked to in the UK, and of course, all of you in California, the hub of the Hollywood and everything down there. But you're also known to having a lot of great indie films come out of there.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm just glad we're able to do this conversation. So this brings up a good question right for me. What other types of films have you done? Is this your first horror, or have you done lots of films other than this one?
Yeah, officially, okay, for me anyway, this is my first thing that I've ever really helped produce and star in and everything. I mean, there's other, student projects and smaller things that have never seen the light of day, which is why I'm like, this is the first one that I know of that's really, gotten out there.
So yeah, I mean, like this originally started as demo reel footage. Like we were like, let's get some good demo reel footage for Josephine, because it's like, yeah, as she mentioned, the student films that never saw the light of day. We're like, where are they? We need the footage.
Yeah, I was like, I just want good footage, man. So.
And so we're like, all right, let's actually will this. So then Josephine asked the writer friend, the one who wrote this film, Ivan Sang, and it's like, hey, she was like, can we use this script?
Yeah, because I had read his script prior to even having any idea of wanting to film anything. And when I read it, I was like, hey, Edward, this story kind of sounds like us. I mean, because the lead's name originally was actually Eddie. So I was like, is this a story about Edward and me? And then Ivan's like, no, I wrote this way before I even met you, Josephine. And I'm like, okay, it's so perfect. And then, once a few months later on, we're just like talking about filming something for the reel. And then I was like, oh, there was that script we read. I don't know if Ivan would be down. And, reached out to Ivan again. And he was just like, yeah, go ahead if you want to use this for your demo reel, which did not turn into just demo reel footage. Once we reached out to Din to ask if our director, if he wanted to help out with the project and he was on board, it became something else entirely.
Yes. With Din, he was kind of a reach director. By the time we reached out to him, he was on the festival train. His previous short film was something called Monday, and it won like a whole bunch of festival awards. It got him like shadowing opportunities at NBC and ABC. It got him like to places. And so, I met him when I had like a short film that I was acting in that his was also in. And so I just reached out to him because we met up. He came to my birthday party, and I just said, hey, we got this super low indie comedy thing. I don't know if you're interested in directing. I thought you'd be great for it. And then he responded like a minute later. Was like, I'll do it. I'm like,
you win.
I haven't even sent you the script yet. This could be garbage. And so he's like, nah, man, let's just do it. And so he came on board, very passionate. He had ideas of his own with the script. And so he is also credited as the co-writer because he definitely like veered the short film into, it was originally a dark comedy, but it definitely became much more focused on like without spoiling anything,
the happy relationship
part.
Maybe.
Especially the birthday present. Yeah, the birthday.
What you crafted is a film with a very deep personal relationship between the main two characters that, by the end, you just feel like those characters are so much closer than they,
Yeah, it's a very good romantic love story. With lots of comedy.
It's a lot of comedy. It's a lot of comedy. So when I describe this, it's I've had festivals kind of like have their eyebrow cocked if I could see it when I said, oh, it's a lighthearted comedy about a fiance giving the best birthday present ever. They're like, yes.
I mean, when we made it, that's kind of what we thought it was. We were like, yeah, it's comedy. It's just comedy. And then we got some review of it afterwards, after we finally kind of put it out there, and someone's like, this is kind of a horror.
It's a horror. And we're like it's a horror? So we actually had we like when people were like, oh, did you guys know you're making a horror film? And some have asked like, what were your horror inspirations? And I'm like,
comedy
films? I mean, I know I personally like really enjoy like the really dark like Korean films that like cross multiple genres.
Yes.
Where they don't seem to set themselves in anything. So I'm very inspired by that. And then I've shown Josephine some of these things as well. So we're like, sure, maybe that's in our DNA or, just like our kind of films that we like to watch. The things that like to go into dark territories or like, go back and forth between being a drama, between a comedy, and doesn't necessarily stick to one thing. And so I think that might have influenced like our...
Yeah, and I'm also not excited for horror films in general. I'm always very scared of them. Like, even if they're amazing, the most phenomenal thing you've ever seen, but just, horror films, because they scare me. So I don't really watch them if I don't have to, or if I do, it's at home in the comfort with all the lights on, and he's usually the one watching it, and I'm hiding in a corner, or I just walk by the room and I'm like, what's happening?
Okay, it's really ironic that, you don't enjoy watching horror films, because if I watch horror film, then she's like, oh, you're gonna turn off the lights and watch the horror film, and then when it's done, I'm gonna like enjoy the rest of the night scaring the shit out of you. And I'm like, this is ironic. You can't even watch a horror film, but yet you enjoy torturing me as it's...
it's more exciting to watch him watching the horror films and knowing what's going to come out afterwards and what's going to haunt him. And I'm like, oh, these are very good things. No, I don't know.
It's just simple tasks. Like she'll just like, I'll just like be in the bathroom and then she'll shut off the light and then she'll just start like knocking on different areas of the wall.
Our house is just haunted. Very strange.
And then I'm just like, okay, I'm trying to like pee in peace right now, but this is not happening.
And then, like, you're living with ghosts.
It's not me, obviously. And the cold air in the house. That's the ghosts, and then they start doing things.
Oh yeah, and if I try to go to bed and I'm like, oh, it's rarely will I get peaceful sleep. It's like sometimes I'll just have a strange figure just hovering over me or like near the doorway, and then I'm just like, okay, cool, close my eyes. And it's that classic horror trick where you just close your eyes multiple times and the figure keeps getting closer. I hate those. I think it was my worst mistake telling that movies like It Follows, like where it's always a thing where it keeps getting closer each time. I hate those horror movies.
I'm doing it from the cat videos I watch. Or any of the pet videos where you just see the pet watching the owner, and then the owner's camera moves away and it comes back and the pet's suddenly closer. I'm like, yeah, it's a pet.
See, it's cute when it's a pet, but when it's a human, it's creepy.
So cute.
So you're just mixing your genres in your films and your personal life. It's perfectly fine.
That's it up.
But if you're watching a lot of Korean horror films, then yeah, you're gonna get that because they have done a tremendously successful job at mixing all these genres together and still keeping the story focused on the family aspect or the main character's plight or anything like that, and less on all the horrific elements, which makes their film so successful in my opinion.
Which is why, like, I mean, at this point, should be spoiled. So hopefully, most of the viewers have seen it. Like, Parasite has been a great recent example where you think it's a comedy. It's like it's a great comedy about class structure, and you're like, oh, this is really funny, amusing, and you're like, oh my god, people, oh Jesus Christ, and so that's the kind of films where you get inspired by. Where like you're just like, oh, this is a good time. I'm really enjoying myself, and you're like, oh no, oh Jesus, so.
I know, every time we watch any of those Korean films, you go in with such apprehension, because I'm like, I know that trailer was a lie. I know they're going to trick me. Well, when am I going to shit my pants in this movie?
When is the hammer going to drop? We enjoy those.
Well, I mean, that's good that you're saying this, because when people watch your movie, they'll now be thinking, oh, crap, it's not just a comedy about a relationship like they're saying it is. It's something else. And I have to wait to watch the whole movie before I get it. So that's good.
Yeah.
The anticipation now. That's the horror aspect. It's the anticipation. It's kind of like what you said with It Follows. You're anticipating this little body coming closer. And that's what the people are going to be doing when they watch your film.
Right.
Now we've built up too much.
I know.
Stop talking about our short.
Okay.
So, what was one of now I can't even remember if I asked this question yet, though. What was one of the most difficult things about doing the film?
Oh.
The film itself? Or after? Or, I mean, technically we...
Well, you can talk pre, post, during.
I mean, we covered the post part, obviously, the diversity aspect. Mm-hmm. We can definitely say, I'll just say this, that, there is a physical situation one of our characters is in that one of the actors, God, it's so hard to debate, was one of us was a trooper to be in that position for filming for about almost 12 hours straight.
Oh,
and
wow.
if you've seen the film, you'll know what I'm talking about. He was in that position. He or she was, okay, I'm just being a Tom Holland now. Okay.
Say it was a very hard position.
Yes, we have a character in the short. We won't say what it is. And they were in this, it's not like exactly a compromising position, but if you're in that position for as long as this person was in, it like starts to take its toll on you. So we're just like, trooper, because it was like, the entire shoot time, essentially, that this person was in that position.
Okay. He is one hell of a trooper.
Yeah, because then we have another piece to it where another person is in this position and it's not as long, right? And the other person, when they were in this position, was like, man, that was tiring. I wasn't even in this position for the entire shoot. I don't know how you guys did this.
Oh, wow. But those are the things about shooting low budgets indie films.
Yeah, because like we can't really figure out other ways around this. You got to do this. Sorry. Yeah, I mean, it's a very like small, simple thing. I feel like it when you view it, but then just thinking about like, oh no, this thing had to happen for as long as it did.
Yeah.
And it's like just kind of tiring.
I mean, that was like, okay, so this was our first major production that we produced, and this is also where we had the help of Diane Foster, who was in a way helped bring a lot of pieces together for the pre-production and during the shoot itself. And so a lot of it we learned from her because this was under her production company, Wally Bird Productions. And so she definitely like led the charge and like, you know, this is what you need to do here and here and here. And so we definitely got a lot of insight in terms of that. And then it's always a fascinating aspect that you watch a short film, you know, even if it's 5, 8, or even a minute long, and it's fascinating to see, you know, as actors, we've experienced like, oh, long shoots, but then when you're the producer and you see all the pieces that comes together to make just an 8-minute short film, and it takes 12 hours to shoot this, and you're just like,
oh yeah, and that's actually like good too,
that's
compared to
one.
all the other stuff we hear the filmmakers and the other the festivals we've been with. They're like, oh yeah, we shot this for like days and doing that, and it's like, it's, you know, very short, obviously, and you're like, wow. We feel so privileged right now to say that we filmed this in 12 hours, you know, in one location, and they're just like, we had to find all these things and all these places, oh my God, blah, blah, blah. And we also had another friend who, when they were shooting their short, they're like, we redid our house for this. We repainted our walls, and we're like, oh, that's cool. We just found a place, and we shot in it, and that was it.
Yeah.
We have nothing to complain about, you know, in comparison to this.
I think in a way, like I do enjoy this kind of filmmaking where it's like, you know, try to tell the story as simply as possible without any of like, you know, there's nothing wrong, like obviously having like exterior shots and doing all this stuff, but
so that was also a requirement Ivan, our writer, had given himself when he wrote the script, because he had written a bunch that were like, I want to just include as little people as possible. And also in just a single room. Just that was his requirement, and so which is why we liked it, because we're like, oh yeah, it's super easy, especially since we were going with the demo reel footage at first, and we're like, of course we want to shoot it super short, low budget, like just shoot it at home on our phone, you know, kind of crap, and you know, that didn't happen, but it did help with our parameters afterwards once this production blew up into something else. And then I know Edward's not saying this for once to not stroke his own ego, but I think one of the more challenging parts after this, as he said, as being producers, we learn, you know, the journey doesn't end, obviously, once your project's done. It's like, no, it just keeps going for the rest of your life until maybe, and like even after film festivals, it'll still probably, we have to figure out other things, but he's been crucial in all the behind the scenes, like submitting to film festivals and talking to all the correspondence that has been happening has been through him, because he's all about socializing and like he just loves this stuff. So like, I don't know if, you know, anybody has, I hope, watched The Office, and Jerry. Oh my God, these are two different
Jerry,
things.
that's Parks and Recreation.
Parks and Rec. Oh my God, see, I always get these two mixed up. It's so embarrassing. Can we erase this? Okay, so Parks and Rec. This is what nobody. Not as popular, but still good. It's kind of same quality.
It's just as popular as The Office.
Yeah, but I feel like it's, you know.
All right.
In terms of like, whatever. The character Jerry, he's the one who gets shit on all the time, but there's this one particular bit in the show that we really like, where he's just like folding envelopes and putting letters in them, and then, you know, another character, Donna's just watching him like, you've been doing this for hours, you have not, like, and he's just stuck in this mode, and then she's watching him, and he runs out of envelopes to put his stuff in, but he's still doing it, and just like, and she was like, what's happening? So she pushes another box towards him, and then he continues.
And then she's like, she's like, hey, I'm canceling my date tonight. I got more important things to do.
So that's Edward with doing anything regarding emailing people, or, you know, in this case, like fixing our poster. I mean, we didn't make the poster. We had someone else do the poster, but in terms of adding the laurels or, you know, changing it up for everything for this thing. He's just on there going like, ah.
We have a Russian filmmaker who also has an excellent horror film, and he's kind of like joked with me. He's like, oh, that must be nice having so many laurels to just finesse and do things with. Oh, that's so nice, so nice, so nice. And I'm like, yes.
But the corresponding and finagling all the film festivals, especially once COVID hit, and like having to figure out how everything would work, because when we first got, one of our first big festivals that we were lucky enough to get into was Screamfest, but that got in the way of like a bunch of other festivals because they're like, oh, we need to be the LA premiere, like and then we're not having it until October, and we had gotten like an early acceptance, but we're like, oh, well, we have all these other festivals that would have been playing before. How are we going to do this?
We got accepted late February, and so we're like, oh my god, and so we kind of like, we're like, okay, we're going to go Screenfest, and then mid-March, that's when the pandemic shutdown happened.
Yeah, and we're like, oh, I guess, so now what? And then, yeah, obviously, a lot of festivals like, okay, well, now we're going to go virtual, and we're like, okay, what does that mean for any of, like, the original obligations we had? And then, so all of that figuring stuff out has been Edward, because I can be very detail-oriented in terms of how the production itself has gone and where things should go, whatever, but then corresponding with people, I'm just like, oh, ew, humans, you know, being a cat, I'm supposed to sit in a corner and not talk to anyone. And he's like, no, we need to talk to people to get this out there. No.
She's like, we got an interview to do. Come on. Get your butt over here.
Yes. So it was also thanks to him that we're having this interview. He was like, hey, I scheduled us for an interview.
Oh yeah, he was really diligent with the texts or the emails. I'm like, I'm not doing nothing. I'm literally, my job this weekend is to be in front of my computer doing panel discussions on one end, then doing the event interviews, and then doing the chat. So we have a live chat that I'm also looking at in between all of that. So
hats off to you for doing this.
It's fun. I mean, this is what I do once a year. So, you know, once a year I can take a whole weekend out to do this. It's all good. So, but you two having, I'm a guest since seeing your film go to a lot of film festivals. How long has it been out at film festivals, by the way?
Literally in, what was it, March?
It's been a few months, like when the first few films I got in that accepted was like North Hollywood Cinefest and A Night of Horror they're down in Sydney, Australia, and they accepted us back in February.
Yeah, but when did it start?
When we
April, right?
Yeah, April. Our world premiere technically was with the DC APA Film Festival. That was May 1st.
Okay.
That was when we started our like journey of like. And that's where it's like now it's even like, you know, I've had discussions with filmmakers, what is a world premiere now? So if your festival premiere virtually, is it a world premiere? Or do you, it's, everyone has mixed feelings about that.
Yeah, because
I agree.
Yeah, obviously a lot of it was like, yeah, we would have been there, if we could have been, we would have been there in person to show it off and socialize and all that stuff, which, once again, I hate kind of things. But I was finally mentally preparing myself, like, if this gets into anything, I guess I'm going to have to go talk to people and get outside my hovel of a home, you know, and then this happened, and it's like, oh, how perfect. I never have to leave my home. This is great. Ha! But, you know, then he's like, hey, but we're doing online things. What? Can I do it in my pajamas? And he's like, yeah, I guess. So,
okay. You know, when we had our first interview, I wanted to be in my pajamas.
Yes, but then I'm like, wait, what is this streaming? People are going to see us?
Well, yeah,
my God.
And then it's like, you better wear a collared shirt.
Yes, we were trying to be good in the beginning.
And no one else was wearing a collared shirt.
Yeah,
Everyone was wearing...
They just naturally look beautiful. But then there's us with our shiny, oily faces. Oh my God, this ring light is terrible. And like our glasses, and like just crawl out of bed, and my hair's uncombed, and I'm like, at least we're here. Thank you for having us, Kevin.
I'll tell you this story. When I first started doing this, I thought I was like you. I was like, okay, I gotta wear my suit and tie, and I did that the first year and realized, damn, this is hot. And none of these people who are coming to my genre film festival care anything about me wearing a freaking shirt and tie. And so now I wear a different horror shirt each day of the film festival. And so everyone comments on that. Oh, what are you going to wear next year, Kevin? I don't know yet. I'm going to throw something on. It's going to have something crazy on it, though. So, yeah. Don't worry too much about that.
I care because I don't know. Normally, I don't leave the house very often. So when I do, I'm like, okay, I can finally access my entire closet of clothes I never wear.
She has a lot of clothes.
So many clothes.
So many clothes.
I do cosplay and Disney bounds. I just like dressing up and stuff, but not if I don't have to, which is ironic because if you look at an Instagram of mine, you'd be like, ooh, she dresses up all the time.
She's
literally, I will wear pajamas for weeks. The same set of pajamas.
You're the face of this movie.
This is what I'm like at home. So yes, I'll wear the same pajamas for a week, and then I'm like, I guess I should change it. It smells.
Yeah, that's her indication, which is just like, oh, it smells really bad.
You do the same thing. You're like, it's the sniff test. Okay.
Well, it's like maybe a few days. You wear it for weeks. Anyways,
disgusting.
Anyway, she's a very lovely individual. Lovely. I love working with her.
I can see. We went over our time, but this was a very entertaining conversation I had with you two. So I wouldn't want to end it. But I got another interview in about 15.
Yeah, you gotta go.
But I do want to ask you if you have a couple final words to our audience about your film without revealing the plot details. If you want to say anything.
I would say enjoy it, and then I got nothing.
Have fun.
Well, I will say a few words. For the people who are watching this interview, obviously, you can expect the unexpected when you watch the film, because it will be traveling at film festivals, hopefully for a while before you stop sending it off to film festivals. And then I'm sure they'll let me know when the film comes out and everyone can watch it online. So I thank you both for, I'm glad we were able to do this conversation.
This is great. Thank you so much for being accommodating and being like, hey, are you going to come? I'm like, oh my God. So thank you so much.
You're welcome. And I wish you both nothing but the luck with this film and especially your next film.
Thank you.
Yes. Thank you so much.